So, you want to know the secret recipe for an epic sports story? Well, look no further than the history of the Australian Open. Seriously, it's a tournament that went from being this forgotten afterthought to an absolute global powerhouse. This isn't just a history lesson, it's practically a masterclass in how you build a legend. Okay, let's get into it.
First things first, we gotta start with this idea, because it just flips the whole script on what we think drives pro tennis. You know, we see the glory, the trophies, this obsession with winning majors. But the reality, for most players, it's way, way grittier. It's about paying the bills. And that idea is the key to unlocking the whole first chapter of this story. It explains exactly why the Australian Open was basically ignored for so long.
So, let's meet our main character, the Australian Open. Today, it's a giant. But its origin story? It's a total underdog tale. It was the youngest, the most remote, and yeah, as our source cheekily puts it, probably the drunkest of the four majors. For decades, it was the ugly duckling of the Grand Slam family, no question.
So what was the big problem? I mean, why did the world's best players basically pretend the first major of the year didn't even exist? The answer wasn't about the prestige or even the prize money back then. Nah, it was something way more basic. The tyranny of distance.
Just look at that number, 45. And that's not hours, that's days, on a boat. Can you even imagine trying to convince a modern athlete to spend a month and a half just traveling to a tournament? The story writes itself, right? The main villain isn't another player, it's the Pacific Ocean.
You can just hear the players' agents talking, can't you? The sheer disbelief. Wait, what? 45 days on a boat? Come on, man. There was just no way the top talent was going to sacrifice that much of their career for one event. The obstacle was it was too huge. It made the whole thing a non-starter.
And if you need proof of just how bad it was, get this. In 1910, they held the tournament in Perth and only 10 players showed up. 10! It was so isolated that even other Australians from the East Coast couldn't be bothered to make the trip. That's when you know you've got a problem.
So how does our underdog finally get its glow up? Well, every great story has a turning point. And for the Australian Open, the transformation from this forgotten tournament into a global must-see event is a fantastic second act.
The comeback really happened in 3 stages. First, you had the local heroes, Aussie legends like Rod Laver and Margaret Court. They give the tournament a real proud identity. Then, as air travel made the world smaller, the international stars finally started showing up, guys like Lendl and McEnroe, which gave it that global stamp of approval. But the modern era, that truly began in 2008 when a 20-year-old Novak Djokovic won his first major right here, kicking off a dynasty and turning Melbourne into his personal kingdom.
And that brings us to the tournament we all know and love today. The one that's not just about great tennis, but has a personality all its own. Its modern identity is this amazing mix of a party atmosphere, absolutely brutal conditions, and, of course, unforgettable characters. So how do you give a tournament a brand? You give it a personality. And the Happy Slam has to be one of the best nicknames in all of sports. The source gives a pretty simple and kind of brilliant recipe. You start with the famously chill Aussie fans, add a whole lot of beer, and suddenly you've got an atmosphere that feels more like a music festival than some stuffy old tennis major.
But hey, don't let that party vibe fool you. Playing here is an absolutely brutal physical test. The court surface itself is pretty unique. Compared to the US Open, the courts in Melbourne are usually faster, with a lower bounce, which really rewards aggressive attacking tennis. Then you throw in that blistering, dry heat, and you've got a setting that demands a very specific kind of champion. This is where the story gets totally unpredictable, and that's what makes it so amazing to watch. It's not just player versus player, it's player versus the elements. You've got the insane heat, you've got birds dive-bombing the court, and of course the human equivalent of a natural disaster, a Nick Kyrgios outburst. You just couldn't write a more chaotic, uniquely Australian script. And it's exactly that combination, the party vibe and the punishing conditions, that has created the perfect stage for some of the most legendary moments and characters in modern tennis. This is where legends are made. And I mean, that chaotic stage has given us some of the greatest scenes in tennis history. That nearly 6-hour marathon between Djokovic and Nadal in 2012? Unbelievable. The breathtaking Nadal-Verdasco semifinal, Rafa's impossible comeback against Medvedev, and of course that fairy tale 2017 final between Federer and Nadal. This tournament just consistently delivers blockbuster drama.
And then you get the really personal stories. You know, any great narrative needs a hero you can really root for, and Ash Barty's win in 2022 was pure movie magic. The classy, beloved homegrown star ending a 44-year drought for her entire country?
I mean, come on, that's a story that's bigger than just sports.
The tournament also has this incredible way of showing us the human side of these champions. Just think back to 2009. You have a tearful Roger Federer, and who's there to console him? His greatest rival, Rafa Nadal. That single image gave us a whole new definition of sportsmanship. It showed us that the fiercest rivalries can be built on just a deep, profound respect.
And of course, every great story needs a complicated hero. Novak Djokovic's relationship with this tournament is pure drama. On this court, he is the undisputed king, the hero with the record 10 titles. But this was also the scene of his most public and painful downfall during the 2022 visa scandal. It's a true love-hate saga, and it just adds so many layers to his legacy down under. So, what's the big takeaway here? The journey of the Australian Open is a masterclass in how to build a legendary sporting event. And it leaves us with a really good question for anyone trying to tell a great story. What's the most important ingredient? Is it the underdog history? Is it the chaotic, unpredictable setting? Or is it the larger-than-life heroes that are forged in that fire? Well, in Melbourne, the answer seems to be all of the above.